On the high-speed train, I received a message from my ex-boyfriend. I have a new girlfriend, and I'm worried she might misunderstand. Let's delete each other. Seriously, is this guy sick? The next second, my roommate followed up with a message. Landry and I are together now. You don't mind, do you? Could I let this go? I handed my phone to the guy sitting next to me. Hey handsome, can you do me a favor? 1. My phone vibrated, and I opened it to see a message from Landry. I have a new girlfriend, and I'm worried she might misunderstand. Let's delete each other. Seriously, is this guy sick? The next second, my roommate followed up with a message. Landry and I are together now. You don't mind, do you? I stared at the message for 3 minutes, the silence deafening. Scarlett was my roommate, and also the instigator of my breakup with Landry. She branded herself as the guardian of our love, waving the flag of doing what was best for us while overstepping boundaries. When Landry was pursuing me, Scarlett volunteered to be his wingman, taking the opportunity to make him constantly treat us to meals. When we argued, she would chat with Landry all night, supposedly to resolve our conflicts. Even the birthday present Landry gave me was chosen by her. She made a point of asking me in the dorm. Ivy, do you like this necklace? I went to the mall with Landry yesterday to buy it. You chose it? Yes, Landry said he didn't know what to get you. I have good taste, right? You're so lucky to have a roommate like me. By the way, we booked a table at Boom tonight to celebrate your birthday, you better hurry up and get dressed. I looked at Scarlett, who was busy putting on makeup, and threw the gift box on her desk. This necklace would go well with your dress, you can wear it tonight. Then I opened my phone and broke up with Landry. Landry, are you serious? Why? Me, because a relationship is between 2 people, 3 people is called a card game. 2. The train's announcement interrupted my thoughts. Looking at the messages sent one after the other, I didn't believe it was just a coincidence. I could imagine the scene of the 2 of them hooking up before sending me the message. Could I let this go? After thinking for a moment, I came up with an idea. My eyes drifted to the guy next to me. A black baseball cap covered his face, and he seemed to be resting with headphones on. Would it be too rude to bother him at this time? But between being rude and swallowing my anger, I decided to be rude. I reached out and gently poked his arm. Hello, excuse me. The baseball cap slipped down, and a handsome face appeared. This appearance was exactly my type. His face didn't show any impatience at being disturbed, just a hint of confusion in his eyes. I brazenly handed him my phone. Hey handsome, can you do me a favor? On the screen was the message from Landry. The guy frowned when he saw it. I thought he was unwilling, but the next second he smiled knowingly. He reached out and took my phone, sending a voice message. No way, bro, who are you? Then he looked up at me, his lips curving. Is this how I can help? 3. Yes, yes, yes. I nodded frantically. This handsome guy was really on the ball. I hadn't even said what I wanted him to do. Thank you, buddy, you're not only handsome but also kind. My mouth was blurting out the truth. The smile in the corner of the guy's eyes deepened. The phone suddenly vibrated nonstop, and he and I looked down at the same time. A string of messages, all from the same person, Landry. Ivy, who is this guy? Did you break up with me because of this guy? Speechless, was he out of his mind? Oh, he's losing it, the guy suddenly said, looking at me with a glint of mischief in his eyes, and continued to ask, do you want to make him lose it even more? Huh? Before I could react, he reached out a finger and pressed the voice message button on the dialog box. Oops, I've been discovered. He released his finger, and the message was sent. He knew how to piss people off. The next second, Landry called. I didn't want to answer it, but I met the handsome guy's face full of anticipation. Okay, I'll satisfy him, I answered the call. Ivy, who is the guy with you? Landry immediately questioned. The helpful hero on the high-speed train. Of course, I wouldn't answer him like that. But in front of him, I was too embarrassed to say the word boyfriend. Landry, won't your current girlfriend misunderstand if you call me? I asked deliberately. Landry was clearly choked. I just sent that because. His words were interrupted. Honey, I don't know if his current girlfriend will misunderstand, but your current boyfriend will be jealous. The guy next to me suddenly leaned over, his warm breath on my hand. Although I knew it was fake, this honey made me blush. Damn it. Landry cursed in exasperation on the other end. Ivy, you're something. Is that why you suddenly broke up with me? You better not let me find out who he is, or I'll beat him up every time I see him. After saying that, he hung up. How ridiculous. 4. The handsome guy successfully retreated back to his seat. He said with a straight face, you won, your ex-boyfriend must be more upset than you now. Because no man can tolerate being cheated on, especially after finding out about it after the breakup. You know so much, have you experienced it? Handsome guy. He turned to look at me, expressionless. Do you think I look like someone who would experience something like that? Deep eyes, a high and well-proportioned nose, smooth and perfect facial lines. A face that wouldn't suffer from love, only make others suffer. Thank you. I once again expressed my sincere gratitude to him. If it weren't for this high-speed train hero, I wouldn't have been able to get back at Landry. The thought of him being with Scarlett made me uncomfortable. But then I thought of how flustered he looked just now, and I felt much better. You're welcome. Teaching a lesson to scumbags is the duty of every citizen. What a lofty ideological and moral quality. He must be a college student. I tentatively asked, are you still in college? The handsome guy nodded, yes. What university? A university. What a coincidence. I exclaimed in surprise, we must have shoveled dung together in our past lives to have such a connection in this life. The handsome guy visibly fell silent. I don't know if you've shoveled, but I know for sure I haven't. He better believe I was being abstract. 5. Scarlett and I returned to the dorm one after the other. As soon as she entered, she went straight for me, leaning against my desk. Ivy, why aren't you replying to my WeChat messages? I did, I replied with silence. Scarlett tentatively asked, are you not replying because you're upset that Landry and I are together? I had forgotten about this whole thing if she hadn't mentioned it. Since she was so persistent. I picked up my phone, opened the chat box with Scarlett, and sent a 1. Me, okay, I've replied now. Ivy, what do you mean by this? I raised my head and looked at her, didn't you want me to reply? Now I've replied and you're still not happy. Ginger, who was sitting nearby, chuckled. What are you laughing at? Scarlett turned her attention to her. Laughing at you. Scarlett didn't want to bother with her, and continued to say to me, Ivy, you haven't replied to my messages for so long, I've been worried sick, I'm just afraid you're angry with me and won't talk to me. Of course, even if you are angry with me, it's understandable, but I really don't want to lose you as a friend. Scarlett's voice gradually lowered, her tone full of grievance. She was always like this. Just like when I argued with her about her chatting with Landry all night. She cried in the dorm and apologized to me, Ivy, I just saw that you've been unhappy these past few days because you've been arguing with Landry, so I did that, I really did it for you and him. If you don't like it, I won't do it again. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. She was the one with no boundaries, but it seemed like I was being unreasonable and overbearing. Ivy, I'm telling the truth, I'll show you the chat history, all I talked about with Landry was about you too. Indeed, it was about us too. Landry, Scarlett, if Ivy was as gentle and understanding as you, we wouldn't argue at all. She always has a temper like a princess, getting angry at the slightest thing. Sometimes I'm really fed up with her. Scarlett, don't say that about Ivy, she must have a reason for being angry. You must have done something wrong to upset her, besides, I'm not as good as you say. Out of hundreds of pages of chat history, she only showed me these few messages. I got even angrier after reading them. Of course, I knew she was doing it on purpose. She was doing it now too. 6. You know what? I was shocked when Landry confessed to me at first, and I immediately rejected him. But there's really no way to control feelings. I was thinking that you guys have been broken up for several months. Plus Landry repeatedly assured me that he no longer has any feelings for you, that's why I agreed. Landry said that we should treat you to a meal together someday, as compensation. Ivy, when are you free? I'm never free, because I'm afraid I won't be able to resist putting the plate on both of their faces. I began to reflect on whether I had been too kind in the beginning, which made her think that I was easy to talk to. I slammed my phone face down on the table. Scarlett, I'm not a straw boat, don't shoot your arrows at me. Scarlett, ? Are you done acting? I don't want to talk about your intentions and actions when Landry and I were together. You've been given too much respect, thinking you're someone special. Does being with Landry after the breakup make you feel particularly proud? You treat what others don't want as a treasure. You came to me to see me feel lost and sad because you two are together, so you can satisfy your ego, right? Sorry, I can't pretend like you, I can't do it. I didn't expect that I would directly expose her inner thoughts. Scarlett's face was now the color of pig liver in the market. Her voice was trembling when she spoke. Ivy, your words are too harsh today, aren't they? Me, then let me tell you, not just today. If you don't like my words, you don't have to listen. 7. Scarlett left in anger, and my ears were finally clear. Ginger gave me a thumbs up. Sis, your fighting power is particularly strong today. You used to turn a blind eye to her. I told her everything that happened on the high-speed train. Ginger slapped her thigh. There's such a good thing? Why didn't I encounter such a helpful handsome guy when I took the high-speed train? Is that the point? Ginger suddenly became interested. He's from our school, what's his name? Let me search the campus for him. As she spoke, she opened her phone. Hayes Blackwood, Computer Science Department. There are really people asking about him and posting his photos. Damn, he's a gem. Ginger held her phone in front of me. What came into view was Hayes's photo magnified to fill the entire screen. The taut arm muscle lines due to the throwing of the basketball. The tight waist, the tight and firm abdominal muscles under the red and white jersey, and... Ginger exclaimed, "You're going to eat well." Me, I haven't eaten yet. I clicked on Hayes's WeChat profile picture. Wow, his Moments feed is even cleaner than his face. Making it impossible for me to learn about him. Unlike me, a bare-bones life, a fully decorated Moments feed. Ginger, by the way, are you still going to the class president's birthday tomorrow? Me, yeah, why wouldn't I go? Ginger, aren't you afraid of seeing Scarlett and Landry showing off their love then? Me, they show off theirs, I'll eat mine. Ginger, I thought you'd be so disgusted that you couldn't eat. I looked at her in confusion. They're just showing off their love, they're not shitting in front of me, why can't I eat? Ginger. 8. The next day, in the private room. Landry, I admire you, you've gotten your hands on two of the most beautiful girls in our class, one new love and one old love. Yeah, Landry, let's interview you, which one do you like more, the last one or this one? After drinking, some people became more talkative. I couldn't help but frown. The question was too disrespectful. Landry didn't answer immediately, but looked over at me, and then awkwardly looked away when I met his gaze. After a while, he raised his hand and put his arm around Scarlett's shoulder, pulling her into his arms, and asked rhetorically, "What do you guys think?" Scarlett blushed shyly and nestled in Landry's arms like a little bird, her tone scolding, "Don't do that, everyone's watching." Then, she pretended to be generous and comforted me, "Ivy, don't be angry, I'll teach him a lesson for you." Seriously, what am I supposed to be angry about? Can you let me eat in peace and stop pulling me into this? But there was always someone who didn't mind stirring things up. "Ivy, you look like you're not happy? Could it be that you still have feelings for Landry?" Me, not at all. Don't deny it, Ivy, we can all understand. After all, our Landry is so outstanding, right? Do these people not understand human language? I looked at the people who were talking, and then at Landry who was silent. For words popped into my head, birds of a feather. I regretted how blind I had been to be with Landry in the first place. It was disgusting, like touching poop. Sorry, I'm late. Suddenly, the door of the private room was pushed open, and a familiar voice came. I looked over. It was Hayes Blackwood. Great. It's Hayes. I stood up with a whoosh. You're here. You're here. Two voices rang out at the same time. It was me and the class president. The class president looked at me in surprise. You know each other? So he was the class president's friend. I was even more convinced that I had shoveled dung with him in my past life. I nodded. Yeah, he's my boyfriend. Hayes's and my eyes met in the air, and I frantically winked at him. He raised his eyebrow slightly, a hint of difference flashed in his eyes, and then the corners of his mouth rose, revealing a meaningful smile. Yeah, that's right, I'm her boyfriend. 9. After Hayes said this, there was a few seconds of silence in the entire private room. The first to break the silence was the class president. He was extremely surprised. Since when? Why didn't you tell even me? Me, because we like to have a secret relationship, it's exciting. The class president was silent. I looked at the people who were joking just now, and smiled mockingly. Do you think I would still have feelings for Landry after having this boyfriend? At this moment, the expressions on everyone's faces were wonderful. Especially Landry, whose face instantly darkened. The person sitting next to me was Ginger. When Hayes walked towards me, she stood up quickly and made room for him without saying a word. After Hayes sat down, he leaned his head to my ear and whispered, "Which one is your ex-boyfriend?" The essence of human beings is gossip, even he can't avoid it. I said angrily, "The third one on your left." I subconsciously followed him to look over, but found that Landry was looking at us with anger, his eyes fixed on us. Hayes even commented, "Your taste is really bad." I really can't refute that. Scarlett suddenly spoke, "Ivy, how did you get a new boyfriend so quickly? I didn't hear you mention it in the dorm." As always, sarcastic, as if anyone couldn't do it. I deliberately sighed loudly, "Isn't it because I'm afraid of you?" I took Hayes's hand and shook it in front of everyone. After all, I treasure this one very much, I don't want to lose him. 10. Everyone present understood, and their eyes looked at Scarlett in a meaningful way. Scarlett's face darkened. She looked at Landry beside her for help, but Landry turned a blind eye to her plea. She had to laugh awkwardly. "Ivy, don't joke around." Landry suddenly asked, "How long have you been together?" I was thinking about how long would be appropriate to make up. Hayes spoke first, "Are you sure you really want to know?" A few angry glints flashed in Landry's eyes. Hayes chuckled, "So I have to thank you. If you hadn't failed to cherish her, I wouldn't have had a chance with such a good person, right, senior?" I declare, at this moment, Hayes is my god. Everyone present gasped, but couldn't resist the urge to watch the show. Landry's face was livid, and the veins on his hand holding the glass were bulging. Just as he was about to explode, the class president came out to smooth things over. He looked like he was about to cry. Does anyone remember that I'm the main character today? I remember. I was the first to stand up. The reason why we are all gathered here today is to celebrate the birthday of our common friend, our class president. Come, everyone, let's raise a glass to him. 11. My phone vibrated. Ginger, awesome, doing great things without making a sound, you got him so quickly. Me, it's fake. Ginger, ? Ginger, don't worry, leave it to your sister, I'll turn fake into real for you. After speaking, she suggested to everyone, don't just drink and eat, it's so dry. Let's play spin the bottle, whoever it lands on will have to do truth or dare, no lying and no escaping. When the bottle landed on Hayes, he chose dare. Ginger opened her phone and put it on the table, spinning the wheel in front of Hayes. Come on, click it, leave the rest to fate. What leaving it to fate, she's talking nonsense. Ginger developed this little program herself. Whenever there was a guy she liked at a party, she would take out this to fool people. The options were not randomly generated at all, she had set them up from the beginning. It was always those few options, as expected. Choose a lady on the spot to kiss for 3 minutes, that's a big one, exciting. Ginger's tone was full of suppressed anticipation. Her acting skills are too exaggerated. There's no need to have one lady present, she might as well just give my ID card number. If they were boyfriend and girlfriend, a kiss would be understandable. But the problem is that we are pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend. I felt presumptuous even holding his hand just now, let alone kissing. 12. Hayes faced me and quietly asked me with his mouth, do you mind? I shook my head almost imperceptibly. It was strange, I had only met Hayes twice, but I didn't feel any rejection at all. Maybe because he helped me out of trouble both times. Of course, I have to admit that his face is really hard to reject. Hayes leaned down and gently touched my lips, like a feather brushing across them. A ticklish sensation. The brief second made my heart skip a beat. Ginger shouted relentlessly, no way, that's not 3 minutes. Hayes smiled shyly, she's shy. Seriously, who's being shy? I couldn't help but grumble in my heart as I looked at the blush behind his ears. Bang. A glass landed heavily on the table, making a sound. Landry's face was displeased, and his voice was gloomy, can we move on to the next round? 13. After the party ended, the class president went to pay the bill. Hayes, Ginger, and I waited in the back, planning to take a taxi back together. Landry, who had already left, suddenly came back and punched Hayes in the face without saying a word. Hayes was unable to dodge, and his face jerked to the side. Landry's eyes were bloodshot. I said, I'll hit you every time I see you. Before he could finish his words, Hayes punched him in the face. Landry staggered from the punch, and he rushed up as if he had lost his mind, but was controlled by the class president who had rushed over. Landry, you've had too much to drink, stop making a scene, I'll take you back. Ginger glanced at Hayes and me, and immediately chimed in, Landry is like this, I'm afraid the class president can't handle him alone, I'll help him, we'll go first, you two can take another taxi. After saying that, she left as if she was escaping. I asked the front desk for some medicine and prepared to disinfect the wound on Hayes's face first. I couldn't help but curse, Landry really hits hard. Hayes comforted me, it's okay, I didn't hold back either. The dim and unclear light shone on Hayes's face, his eyes filled with sparkling light. A few strands of hair fell down on his forehead, slightly messy. His thick and dark eyelashes were distinct, trembling slightly. I unconsciously lightened my movements, and I felt very guilty. Sorry. Hayes opened his eyes and said lightly, it wasn't you who hit me, what are you apologizing for? I sighed, if I hadn't asked you to pretend to be my boyfriend just now, this wouldn't have happened at all. Hayes's eyes flashed slightly, followed by a soft chuckle from his chest. Then why didn't you say you shouldn't have asked me for help on the high-speed train? I was speechless. Damn it, it was all to get that damn sense of satisfaction. And, Hayes paused, and continued, how do you know that I wasn't willing to do it myself? 14. I had insomnia that night after returning home. I tossed and turned in bed, my mind filled with Hayes's sentence, how do you know that I wasn't willing to do it myself? Damn it, it's love. As predicted, he could easily make others suffer. The next day, Ginger saw me and exclaimed, Ivy, did you secretly memorize material all night again? Me. Nonsense, I'm clearly a talented player. My eyes inadvertently swept over Ginger's desk, and seeing the book she put on the desk, my eyes lit up. Ginger, lend me your CET 6 material. Didn't you pass your CET 6? What do you need the workbook for? To put noodles on? It's not an ordinary workbook, it's a treasure book for me to find love. I opened the dialog box with Hayes and entered, "Have you passed the CET 4 and CET 6? If you haven't, let's go to the library to study together." No way, even dogs would shake their heads after seeing it. People who didn't know would think I was looking for a study buddy. I deleted it and re-entered, "Oh my gosh, the CET 6 exam is coming up soon, and I haven't reviewed yet," crying and pounding the ground.jpg. "Have you passed it? If you haven't, let's go to the library together." A woman's weakness is a man's soft spot. The other party showed that they were typing, but soon turned into a WeChat name, repeating this over and over again. My heart went up and down with it. After a long time, Hayes replied with a, "Okay." Seriously, did it take him so long to type an okay? My 80-year-old grandmother types faster than him. Me, when? Hayes, whenever you want. Then he sent his class schedule. I cheered. Then let's meet at the library gate at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, rain or shine. 15. The next day, at the library. I fell into deep thought looking at the CET 4 workbook in front of Hayes. "You don't look like you haven't even passed CET 4. At the very least, he should have passed CET 6. Hayes, "Well, I just look smart, but I'm not really." "Yes, people can't have everything, right?" Hayes's gaze suddenly stopped, and I followed his gaze. The cover of the CET 6 material I just took out clearly had Ginger written on it. Damn it. Ginger, this person, didn't flip through a page of the book, but wrote her name so quickly. I smiled awkwardly. "This is my roommate's, she passed it last semester and gave me the material." After all, saving paper and protecting trees starts with me, starting with little things. You agree, right? Sometimes I admire my ability to lie through my teeth. Hayes curled the corners of his lips. "Yes, so I'll say thank you to those trees for you." "That's not necessary." Haha. I looked at the reading comprehension in front of me and randomly guessed ABCD. Anyway, I'm not really here to study, just pretending. I secretly raised my head and looked at Hayes opposite me. He was supporting his head with one hand and turning his pen with the other, and he didn't look like he was studying seriously either. Bang! The pen between his fingers fell. Hayes didn't move for a long time, but the corners of his mouth curved imperceptibly. Suddenly, he raised his eyes and looked at me. I didn't have time to take back my gaze, so our eyes met. Hayes asked, "Ivy, are you looking for answers or a translator on my face?" Oops, I was discovered. I bit the bullet and replied, "I'm just tired from studying, so I raised my head to look at your pleasing face, so I can be motivated to continue studying." "But you stared at me longer than you did on that reading comprehension." 16. I sat in the classroom and sent a message to Hayes. "Me, there are two kinds of most dazzling light in the world. One is the sun, and the other is the appearance of students working hard. Today there is already the sun, and we are missing 2 students. So, Hayes, do you want to go to the library together?" Hayes didn't reply for a long time. That's strange, he usually replies instantly. Could it be that studying these past few days has made him too tired? Or is it my fault? Did I do something to turn him off? I spent the entire class seriously reflecting, and the more I reflected, the more frustrated I became. Ambiguity is really frustrating. But the frustration was fleeting. Because the phone vibrated, and Hayes's message popped up. I just had a pop quiz, I didn't look at my phone the whole time. "It's over now, I'm waiting for you outside the classroom." Outside the classroom? I looked out the door. Hayes was leaning against the railing, looking lazy. When he saw me looking at him, he raised his eyebrows at me. There was a rustling discussion from the back row. "Isn't that Hayes Blackwood from the computer science department? He's so handsome. By the way, who is he waiting for here?" "It's probably waiting for Ivy. I heard that he and Landry fought for her." "I'm so envious, when will I have the day when 2 handsome guys fight for me?" "In your dreams." "Me. So that's how rumors are created. This is too exaggerated. Besides, Landry didn't fight for me, he just thought he was being cheated on. He was just fighting for that little bit of insignificant face as a man." 17. Knowing that Hayes was waiting outside, I couldn't help but look out. "Ivy." The teacher on the stage suddenly called me. "Although the teacher knows that I'm not as handsome as your boyfriend, you can look at your boyfriend after class." But for the teacher, I'm losing one class with every class. The whole class burst into laughter. My face flushed instantly. The commotion in the classroom was so loud that even Hayes at the door heard it. He scratched his head embarrassedly and bowed to the teacher in the classroom. "Sorry teacher, I disturbed you." After speaking, he slipped away to another place. "Hayes, send me a message after class." Looking at the message that popped up on the phone screen, I couldn't help but smile. Ginger couldn't help but come over and ask, "What step have you reached?" I thought for a while and answered her, from reading comprehension to translation questions. Ginger looked like she hated that I was so hopeless. "Are you middle school students? Dating at the library?" I corrected her, we're not dating yet. Ginger's eyeballs felt like they were going to roll to the teacher's podium. So Ivy, you're facing a tall, good-looking, and single man every day, and you can still resist not dating, are you a ninja? I seriously and earnestly considered Ginger's words, and felt that it made a lot of sense. So a few days before New Year's Day, I took the initiative to ask Hayes how he was going to spend New Year's Eve. Hayes asked back, how do you want to spend it? Let's have dinner together? Just dinner? I looked at the person in front of me in horror, what else do you want to do? Hayes smiled helplessly, what are you thinking? I mean, do you want to see a movie together after dinner? Oh, watch it, of course. Hee hee, my face turned red, I was thinking too much. 18. On New Year's Eve, the entire dorm had their own arrangements, and everyone was busy preparing, except for Scarlett. She was on the balcony talking on the phone with Landry, and it seemed that there was an argument. The words became more and more intense. Landry, tonight is New Year's Eve, you're not spending it with your girlfriend, but with your friends? Why can't I go to the bar? What friends? Female friends, right? Do you think I don't know what you're doing? Landry, you're shameless. Scarlett shouted and hung up the phone. Ginger and I looked at each other silently, and neither of us spoke. When Scarlett came out of the balcony, her eyes were a little red, and it was obvious that she had cried. When she passed behind me, she stopped and said hatefully, Ivy, are you particularly happy to see me like this now? Yes. I answered truthfully. Scarlett was stunned for a moment because she didn't expect me to be so direct. I was busy meeting Hayes and was too lazy to pay attention to her. When I was almost at the door, I thought about it and turned back. Scarlett, when Landry was with me, he thought I wasn't as gentle and considerate as you. Similarly, now that he's with you, he will think that you're not as lively and cute as other girls, not as sexy as other girls. This is because Landry is essentially a bad person. So don't doubt yourself, let alone internal friction, cutting your losses in time is the best. When I left, Scarlett was still standing there. It's not that I'm being a saint. In fact, apart from Scarlett's actions regarding Landry, she's been okay to me. She used to take care of me when I had period pain and cook brown sugar ginger tea for me. Help me grab tickets for concerts. So, people are dualistic, right? 19. We agreed to meet at the school gate at 6 o'clock, but it wasn't until 6:30 that Hayes appeared in a hurry, and I was so tired of waiting that I lost my temper. Sorry, when I looked in the mirror, I found that my hair was long, and I thought it was such an important day today, so I went to get a haircut. But I didn't expect that there would be so many people at the barber shop who were like me. I waited in line for a long time. Later, Hayes's voice gradually lowered. No wonder his hairstyle changed. The bangs on his forehead were trimmed into short, choppy hair, which highlighted his facial features even more. Plus his outfit today. The freshness and handsomeness of a young man were overwhelming. Seeing that I didn't speak, he quickly added, Ivy, don't be angry, I promise I will never be late again in the future. I wasn't angry, I was just thinking about the important day that Hayes mentioned just now. Is it important because I'm spending New Year's Eve with him? Besides, looking at his face, I would have dissipated even if I had a big temper. There were a lot of cars on New Year's Eve, and the traffic jam was extremely uncomfortable. Seeing that we were only 200 or 300 meters away from our destination, we decided to get out of the car and walk over. The winter wind rolled up the fallen leaves on the ground, and I couldn't help but shiver. Hayes took off his jacket and put it on me, and a warm feeling instantly wrapped me. It's really worthy of being a Canada goose. Looking at Hayes, who was only wearing a sweater, I asked worriedly, aren't you cold if you give me your jacket? Hayes shook his head, guess why I'm wearing such a thick down jacket today? It's for this moment. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, Hayes, you're so childish. I noticed a thin strand of hair on the tip of his nose. Wait, don't move. Hayes was very obedient, staring at me without moving his eyes. I raised my hand to take it off for him. The hot air exhaled from Hayes's nose brushed against the back of my hand, a ticklish sensation that reminded me of the kiss during the dare that day. Almost unconsciously, I blurted out, Hayes, let's be together. 20. Hayes's face became colorful in an instant, with a look of wanting to say something but stopping. Seriously, is this a normal person's reaction after hearing a confession? My heart sank. Hayes, you're not going to reject me, are you? Hayes, no, Okay, you're not allowed to say anything else. I stopped him. Hayes suddenly grabbed my hand and put it into his coat pocket. My fingers touched a square box. Hayes smiled helplessly and dotingly, I was all prepared, I wanted to confess to you at midnight during the new year. He sighed softly, Ivy, you're too impatient. This kind of thing, being together, should be said by me. The hand in the pocket was still tightly held by Hayes. I could feel the warmth of my cheeks and the wild beating of my heart. So the important day he was talking about was to confess to me. I opened the box, and inside was a necklace. I confirmed with him, "Did you choose this yourself?" "Yeah." Hayes became nervous. "What's wrong? Is my taste too bad? You don't like it?" "No, it's just that I have PTSD about necklaces." "No, I like it very much." I took off the scarf around my neck. "Hayes, can you put it on for me?" "Okay." Hayes held the necklace in his palm for a while, and breathed a few warm breaths on it. His arms circled my shoulders, and his warm fingertips and the slightly cool necklace touched the back of my neck. Behind him, brilliant fireworks spread across the inky night sky. Great, fireworks and love arrived early together,